Welcome to my 2025 autumn and winter knitting plans. My name is Johanna, and if you're here the first time, I'm the knitter behind the Knotenkopp channel, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I had to postpone this video about a week, but we are finally doing this. It's the mid of October, so I think we're fine. And I'm combining my autumn and winter knitting plans because, if we're being honest, if this would be just my autumnal knitting plans, this would enclose only one pattern. and yeah, and that would be kind of boring. Like, who wants to see that? This is quite an ambitious knitting list anyways. I'm pretty sure I won't make it. A lot of my knits from last winter and spring will also cross over into this list. So, and I thought only talking about them and repeating myself would also be a bit boring. So yeah, I took a bigger look on what I would like to knit, but I'm pretty sure I won't be able to knit all of it because all of them are quite ambitious knits, and I am not sure how much knitting time I will get, at least until Christmas. A lot of friends are coming over for a visit. Let's talk about my knitting plans. And with some of them I already started because they have been plans for a very long time, but with some of them I changed my mind in the last few days, I think like 5 times. So some things are very settled and fixed, and some might still change over the next few months. And yeah, with that, let's get into my plans. It's just wanted to say a German word, or rather what I've started knitting on, what I casted on already. And I will take a sip of my tea. And with that, let's talk about my first autumnal knitting plan. And so I was planning on knitting the Harriet sweater by Lene last spring. Didn't get around to it. I had the yarn lying around in my living room where I'm filming here at the moment, and most of my knitting happens all summer long because I was still expecting to cast it on. But I think during the summer I realized I should maybe prioritize the summery fibers that I'm not going to be motivated during autumn to knit. So, and I knew because of the colors I chose, it would also be a very nice autumnal knit, and so I didn't get around to it. And but here we are, and I made some progress on it already, and it's attached to some balls of yarn. And yeah, so that's how far I got. But let's first talk about the pattern. I hope this is, as I said before, not too repetitive if you watch my other planning videos. But on the other hand, I don't remember what some podcasters were planning 2 seasons ago, so I don't mind it, so probably you won't. And some beautiful designs, you can talk about them 5 times and it's still nice to listen to it. And I'm surprised that I haven't seen many people knit that yet for it coming out last spring. I know what Millie is making knitted, I think in a brown and pink version, which is beautiful. And I don't know her name, but Lene knits, I think she also knitted one last spring in, I think, a light background color and a dark contrast color. And they are really beautiful versions on Ravelry. But let's get first into the pattern. So the pattern is a contiguous sleeve construction. So you just knit a slight portion of the back panel flat and then pick up stitches for the shoulders, and pretty soon join everything in the round while picking up stitches for the sleeves. And this way you don't have to knit any of the color work flat, which is one of the things, despite the color work motif, which really drew me to that pattern, because I really don't like raglan sweaters, she said, wearing one and only raglan sweater. I made an exception for this one. By the way, I'm wearing my normal sweater, which I finished last spring, and if I leave off the heating in this house, it's actually cold enough to wear it finally. Yeah, I don't like raglan sweaters. I think in round yoke sweaters I do like on myself, but I think they are, you always have like that outgoing cone-like motifs on them. Sometimes you also have bands, but I don't prefer them that much. And yeah, you are kind of limited with your motifs, and drop shoulders are a bit annoying to knit in color work because yeah, you need to do, if you start early on, quite a lot of color work flat. So this was really speaking to me, and I was also intrigued because I think if the fit is really nice, you could probably put in any motif of your choice into this construction. Like obviously it needs to work with the numbers, but like that's just Excel charts, I guess. So yeah, you knit the color work in the round and you start with this like more checkered motif and do then like some zigzaggy motifs. I can actually show it better on here because the sleeves don't have that much color work. Yeah, I don't know, I don't think these kind of like geometric color work motifs have any names, but I'm doing I think one row of brown now, and then starting with like one of the main like flower motifs, which I'm looking very much forward to it. This sweater has been kind of up and down in the last few days. So first of all, let's talk about the yarn. My main color is the dark brown, so yeah, dunkelbraun yarn, because it's a German brand. Schäferei-Genossenschaft Finkhof, and it's the Finkhof Merino Wolle Dünn Dunkelbraun. This is like 100 grams, 300 meters, and it's very rustic, heavy, kind of DK. Yeah, it's even though it runs 100 grams, 300 meter, it's a woolen spun, very loosely two-plied yarn, so when you block it, it really blooms, and you kind of get a DK weight, even though the yarn runs a bit longer than your usual DK. And it's very inexpensive, this yarn. It's also really rustic, and you need to pick out a lot of like hay and vegetable matter and stuff like that, but I don't mind that. My dark navy carpet hates it. I need to hoover it every day, but I personally don't mind it, and I really like this kind of yarn. And my contrast colors, or contrast colors, because they're multiple, mainly, or what got me thinking was this, probably it's blurring out a bit, hand-dyed, non-superwash merino fingering yarn by Parsley Knits, of her book club collection, and it's, I will put on the names on the screen because I have the variegated, which is this one, like you can see there, and the tonal as well, and I forgot what they are called, but they are based on the TV show, or more so the book, but I guess the colors are more based on the TV show Normal People. And I was a bit struggling to make this work because these are very different yarns. So this is a very woolen, loosely spun sport to DK yarn, and this is a hand-dyed fingering yarn, but in my experience these ones are a bit thicker, I guess, so like more spring weight to sport weight. So they are like if you hold them next to each other, they could go as the same thickness, but I know this blooms a lot and this kind of does, but not as much. And so I really wanted no gaps in my color work, so I wanted to hold it with something, and I got this Freya Mindful yarn in this like very, like they don't look very similar, but like this color is in here. I think I talked about this lengthily in spring, but they match actually really, really great. I can show it to you in the sweater. Like they definitely have dimension because it's just a variegated yarn held with a Harriet yarn, but that's what I wanted. I really like that like dimension in that contrast color, and I was struggling to find a second contrast color because I think in the pictures it's not that obvious, but you can see it slightly that there are like some teeny tiny dots of a second contrast color. And I think you could also omit it if you wanted to, but I really was drawn to some of the projects on Ravelry who had like a dark background color, a light main contrast color, and the center of the flowers was a darker shade of that contrast color. And there's especially one which is like brown main color and purple contrast colors, like lavender more so as the main contrast color, and then you have like a really purple center of the flowers. I think looks so cool, and I don't even like purple, but that really looked nice. But like I said, I had this second solid color of that book club Normal People collection, but this is like more of a cooler tone. It's not really something that suits me. Like I can hold them next to each other, and especially with the second strand that I held with the variegated yarn, I really wanted to bring out the warm tones in this variegated yarn. So I wasn't really sure if I wanted this like cooler, more sagey color in my project. Additionally to that, I didn't have a matching second strand, because the same as with the first contrast color, I had the issue that I needed kind of a second strand with it. And I didn't really want to get like buy online just a single strand, especially because of that second contrast color. You basically, depending on your size, only need between 50 and 100 meters. Like I think the sizes I saw online in size small and medium, I think had like 60 meters or something. And I think I'm knitting large or extra large, and so I probably won't need that much yarn either. And just buying a total skein of a color you won't personally use that much, I didn't see that point. So what I thought, because as I said, I was thinking of that project in spring, I thought to hold it with like a cream white color, so it would give more of like, especially with the very springy green, I thought of like, is it Snowbell? Like that white flower that like is one of the first flowers in like spring or late winter, and you sometimes find it like on these very bare forest grounds, and it's like coming out of the earth. And I thought like with this like very earthy color or soil kind of color and the green, it would give like maybe Snowbell. If that is the wrong flower name, I will probably put a picture of the flower here anyways. And I tried that and it didn't look good, or at least for me, with the rather warm green, and I guess the brown is warm as well. It had a very strong, stark contrast, which I didn't really like. And also with me liking this, like, or with the projects I really like on Ravelry, like I said, they had like a darker color in the center and not a lighter color in the center. So I rubbed that back. And I decided to go with this color anyways, because obviously they were like dyed as a theme together, so they match. And I found, I can just take it off like this. I found this yarn in my stash. I have 2 skeins of this woolen twine BFL mushroom fingering yarn in the color forest, and you can see that like this is like a very natural yarn, and this is more of a, I mean, she's a hand dyer as well, but she goes for, I guess, a different aesthetic like than classical hand dyers, but they kind of are similar. This is like more of a moody version of this, and till this day I still don't know what to do with all that BFL mushroom I have from Wool and Twine, because apparently it peels like crazy. So, and I also have an odd quantity of it, so I thought like, who cares if I take like 50 to 100 meters from this and pair it with that. And I'm very, very happy with how it's looking currently. I can show it to you again, like I think in the body. I think it looks really, really cool, and I can't wait to see it in the flower section, which is just the main focus of that color work motif. And I will insert a picture maybe of me putting this on, because the next challenge I had was the sizing situation, because I was naughty and didn't do a really good gauge swatch. So the issue was, I did a gauge swatch in spring and didn't put in any notes, was also too lazy to rewatch my spring knitting plans, and just remember that I kind of got gauge and yeah, went with that. And I thought like, this has a lot of positive ease, like 25 to 40 centimeters. I went for like kind of 35 centimeters of positive ease, and was like, if it's like only 30, that's fine. Like, because I thought my gauge swatch was like 1 stitch less. No, it was like I would get a smaller size than what I would actually knit. And I think I stretched it a lot while blocking, but I didn't remeasure it or anything. Like, I was really lazy. And the problem was, I did the gauge swatch without the pattern, but you can easily like copy that like first motif just from like this kind of thing. You don't need a chart for that. Like, you can do that with pictures. And the pattern says 4mm needles, and that's what I gauge swatched with. But since I didn't have I only had the pattern description but not the pattern in itself, she recommends going up for the color work to 4.5mm needles. And when I read that in the pattern, I was like, yes, great, that makes sense, especially because holding the contrast color double, like holding these 2 yarns together, they are a lot thicker, or not a lot thicker, but they are slightly thicker than my main color, especially before blocking. I thought like a 4.5mm needle would be great. I also in past projects had really good experience with that, to go up a needle size or 0.5 millimeter a needle size. So I said yes, and since I thought I had my gauge wasn't 100% matching that, I thought great. And it was like, I knitted the sweater and it was growing and growing, and I kind of measured in between. I was like, yeah, we are not there yet, it's fine. And then like, I think 2 rows before I split for body and sleeves, I was like, this is looking really, really big. Maybe I should remeasure that, and maybe you should remeasure your gauge. And I remeasured my gauge, and now my gauge is bigger, so I have less stitches than the recommended gauge in the pattern. So I have, I think, 19 stitches unblocked, and I think the pattern is for 21 stitches, and my gauge swatch had like 22 stitches. And I was like, oh shit. Because like I said, I chose the pattern with a 35 centimeters positive of ease. And I calculated, if I continue in that size, how much positive ease I would have. And it would be 50 centimeters of positive ease, which I'm all here for a big sweater, but that's ridiculous. So I did some math and I realized I could still maneuver some stitches, and because you cast on quite a lot of stitches under the sleeve, and if I don't cast them on, I could actually go down for the body for one size. I also left out the last row of increases before you split and just cast on one stitch on each side under the sleeve to get the right number for the chart repeat for the body. And I think unblocked I have about 135 centimeters of bust circumference, so that gives me around 30 to 35 centimeters of bust positive ease. And if this grows, it might grow to 40 centimeters. I hope so. And yeah, I think I'm fine with that. I hope so. Let's all wish me luck. I mean, it was my own mistake. Going up a needle size without gauge swatching was kind of stupid, but I think I'm fine with the whole situation as it is for now. And I'm also planning to knit this sweater long, because that's kind of the theme for this autumn and winter. I need sweaters that cover my butt, to be honest. I have now a lot of sweaters, self-knitted sweaters, that are cute with like high-waisted pants and skirts. I don't have that many dresses, so I don't really wear that combination, but yeah, these are the scenarios. It's really, really cute, but already like the last winter and I guess this upcoming autumn and winter, again, I'm missing things that I can wear over leggings and leave the house with that. Like, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable, like if I'm not doing any sports or outdoor activities, to walk around just in leggings and a cropped sweater. And also, what is the other thing? I have a lot of like, what is it, like fleece tights, so thermal tights, I guess, which have like these seams at the butt, so they are really not appropriate to, like, they're not see-through or anything. They're kind of like leggings. They also don't have any feet part, but like they look like the toddler kind of leggings, and you don't really want to walk around with them showing your butt. So I need light sweaters that cover that basically. And at the moment I only have one secondhand sweater that does that, and I wish I had more, and I have so many short sweaters, so I don't need more of them, I feel. So, and since this pattern is really made for a very long sweater, you can see it in the like sample pictures, I am actually going to make that sweater long. I need to see, probably I will shorten it a little bit, because I'm just 1 meter 58 centimeters, so like everything long on a normal height is like extra long on me, and I don't want to cover like my knees or something. But yeah, a long sweater project. I need to take a sip, because the next project is also butt covering project, and it's something I was planning for quite some time, but still I have no idea if this is working out. So in late January, early February, I had my second thyroid surgery. Woke up, it was successful. I also got on the same day, while I was still in the hospital, my taxes back, and I was like, I am going to treat myself, because what else are you gonna do if you in the hospital all day? So like, and I was considering getting some of the Lang yarns, cloud yarn, not for very long, because most of the colors don't really speak to me. Like, they are mostly have like some bright color in between, like bright stripe, which isn't really mine. And I'm also not the biggest fan of blown yarns. I don't think they are like the best investment, because I get the characteristics of them, and for example, especially for people who are very sensitive to wool and want to knit like lightweight, warm and thick sweaters, I think probably I get why people are drawn to it. it just, I think it's a quite delicate yarn, just the way it's made. It's not very robust. It's the opposite of rustic. And I think it's just not a material in a sweater that will hold up very long and be nice. It's the opposite of something that is a heritage piece that you make. And I am just more drawn to yarns that are long lasting, but also I'm not that sensitive to wool. And I think even if you hold this with a mohair, it just, yeah, it is a fun and trendy yarn, but it's not like the best investment into a long lasting knitwear piece, I guess. But it's a fun hobby, it's a hobby that we do to have fun. So you can also like buy stuff that isn't that practical sometimes. Like, I mean, I'm not judging anyone who likes blown yarn. It's just, for me, it's like most of the time not worth my money. But with Lang Yarns Cloud, you kind of only get that color changing, these like stripes in these yarns. Like, I haven't seen that many other yarns. Like, obviously you have self-striping socks, but that's like totally different gauge. These are very thick yarns. Like, I am knitting it on 6mm needle, but it's recommended for 7mm, and it has a 13 stitch gauge. So, and I think there was like a TikTok or Instagram reel that went really viral of a knitter who knitted herself in this colorway a sweater, and I really liked that colorway. And I think the color is called Petrol and Chestnut, or Castagno and Petrol, because it's a German brand. And I think the colorway is number 12, if you are drawn to this as well. And I mean, it doesn't get much more autumnal than that, like maybe a bit more green than Petrol. But yeah, I got this in spring and I was like, this is screaming autumn. I should wait until autumn, because also the thing I wanted to knit with this isn't a sweater, because I feel more drawn to other kind of materials for sweaters. I wanted a short A-line dress with this, because I thought like a knitted dress is a fun thing. It's kind of a ridiculous thing as well. I don't really want to do it on small needles, and I thought like with this color changing, it is even more fun. And so I got 4 balls of it. I had no idea if this would be enough, because there are basically no patterns for this gauge and my size with the fit that I wanted. So I was kind of estimating it, but I think I'm going to be fine. And I'm still using a pattern, though I'm kind of just using the diagram, I guess, from it and some of the numbers, but the pattern is for a very different fabric. I'm using the Eve dress by LePull, which is a reversed stockinette pailletten, so glittery dress. And I think I've seen it first on Lily from Le Fille ducoeur, and she has kind of a similar body type to me. LePull definitely doesn't, so I think it's kind of like, I can't tell from her sample pictures if it's something I would like on myself, but I think on Lily it looked really cool and cute, and I was like, yeah, I could work with that. And so that's what I'm knitting, but I'm not doing it in a reversed stockinette. I'm doing it in normal stockinette. I considered it because sometimes the with these like color changing or tweedy yarns, the reverse stockinette side can look really cool as well. But I mean, I can still wear it inside out, I guess. And yeah, it's like similar to like, or the construction is similar to the Sabai top or Camisole number 10, which I guess I've knit and most other people knit during the summer. So it's very not common, but well known to me construction. So you basically have raw edges, but you slip stitches at the side so they don't roll, or they roll a bit in on themselves, but like not to a point as the top that it's like eating up all of your fabric. And yeah, so that's how far I got. This is like basically one skein, and I've knit a bit under the arms. This is the back side. I think you can see if you would knit this back and forth, it would do a very nice like fade color changing, and you can see at the bottom the stripes get a lot closer together, and I think since this is more stripy as well, I chose this as my front side. I considered knitting it flat because I mean it's on 6mm needles. But then you would have at the side of the dress a seam where like two different stripy patterns would match, which I really didn't want to, and I would rather have the stripe pattern change than have that side seam. I have to rip back, I think, because you cast on a lot of stitches under the sleeves. And maybe you can tell from just me holding this up, it's very, very wide. I want this to be loose and like cozy, because obviously this is very cozy fabric. But I think I need to have it a bit more fitted, like not fitted, but like not that much positive ease as a sweater under my arms, like where it hits basically the widest point of my bust, and then go more outwards, like more of an A-frame. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do, but I'm postponing ripping back for 2 weeks now because this yarn is not a joy. I think probably there are with all yarns higher quality blown yarns and lower quality blown yarns, and even though these colorways are very unique, and I think as far as I've seen, this is one of the only brands who do them. I think maybe Lana Grossa has some of them as well. But this yarn is, I think, a very poor quality. I think Rebecca from the Pear just talked about it as well because she knitted a sweater. It is very thick and thin, and it's not, I think with Noro Madara it's also thick and thin, but it's also like that not rustic, but like that tweedy yarn. It has a totally different vibe. With a blown yarn, since it's so processed, I kind of expect it to be very even, and there are like some parts, I'm trying to find some, where you basically have it reduced, like, or for example here you can see it, to the core. Like it looks like if I would hold only silk's mohair strand and you forgot to hold it with the second color for one stitch. That's how thin it is, and also it rips. It hasn't ripped, but it also feels like it could rip easily. It's just very, very delicate and very uneven. And on some other parts, like for example, this row, I think here, yeah, it has like nearly a bubble because it's so uneven. And you probably could cut it out, but I'm not willing to do that because it's not just one spot every ball, it's kind of regularly happening, and I don't think I have enough yarn to weave in and out ends and cut parts out. So yeah, it's, I don't know, I still would recommend the yarn if you are into the color and the vibe of this yarn, but like be aware what kind of like quality this blown yarn has. And I could just imagine that, for example, Snefnuk or what is it, like Echo Soft by Isea or Isaga, they are much better and even made processed blown yarns in comparison to this. I think it's kind of sad because usually I think Lane Yarns makes good yarn for like big commercial yarn brand, and I was kind of disappointed. I mean, these yarns aren't that expensive here in Germany. I paid like, I think 15 or 16 euro for 100 grams, 260 meters. So with 4 balls for a dress, and I probably would need a similar amount for my size in a sweater as well. I could get away with it for like 65 euros or something around that, which is fine, I think. but I think, for example, if you hold it with additional mohair, this would be quite a pricey sweater, or in my case dress. I will keep you updated if this is working out, or if I rip everything back and have a crisis, because I don't know what else to do with this yarn, I guess. Because like I said, I don't see myself needing a sweater with this yarn. But yeah, I had this picture of myself in my head. I have like this cream colored turtleneck long sleeve, and with this on top and some tights and boots, I just thought it would be very cute in autumn. And obviously this knits up very fast, so I probably will be able to wear this like in 2 weeks or something. But I hope that the fit is somewhere in the direction of what I was envisioning, because like I said, like this yarn has a very different drape and structure than the one LePull uses in her pattern. So yeah, I have no idea. This is kind of an experiment, but with 6mm needles, I'm open to experiment. Like, if this fails, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so that's that. And another project done. The next one is this yarn, which has been on the channel a few times now as well, and made it into several knitting plans. I think this is the third time, fourth time, I don't know. I bought this yarn from Klara Spinnery 2 years ago because they took their Grey Garn out of stock, not out of stock, out of their assortment like range. So they put it on sale, and I bought this before, knitted a vest with it, really enjoyed that, really like that yarn. It's basically the same as I think the thick Petzold yarn from Klara Spinnery. So was the 2-ply, 100 grams are 200 meters. Yeah, and I really like it, and I have it in this like mid-gray Harriet yarn. And I didn't buy it with the intention to knit the Guernsey Genser with it, but for the last 2 years I was envisioning knitting the Guernsey Genser with it. I've knitted it once before, currently knitting it for my nephew. At the moment I can't knit any further because I ran out of my yarn and still can't get over ordering 1 ball of Ficolana Alva just for this project. So I'm hoping some of my friends from Berlin will bring me a skein or a ball of yarn from Berlin, but I'm unsure about it at the moment. So, and I thought I would do a matching one for myself in this color, but I wore last week my vest number 1 in this yarn, and looking at the ribbing, it's fine, it's a stockinette vest. I like had to admit to myself something that I knew all along. This is really not a yarn which is made for textured knits or cable knits. There's a reason why Petite Knit brought out in collaboration with Klara Spinnery the triple garn, I think it's called, which is rounder. It's a 3-ply, and she designed her Dagmar sweater in that, or Dagmar cardigan, jacket, whatever. And yeah, some of these like woolen spun, loosely plied, 2-ply rustic yarns are just not really prone for texture. I think you still can knit it. That's at least what I told myself. I think additionally to that, it's also Harriet yarn. So I realized it will probably, the texture will just not be visible. And it's a lot of work for something that's not going to be visible. And so I changed my plan. After 2 years, I changed my plan in the last week. So that's what I meant. I'm very up and down at the moment. And then I remembered in spring I also pinned on my Pinterest board a red cable sweater, which I loved the idea of, but knew I didn't have yarn, I didn't have the time this year, so it was like just a future idea. And when I ordered the Finkhof yarn, I also ordered one of their, I don't know if that was a moth, it doesn't matter. I ordered one of their Finkhof dyed fig yarns, also merino wool, and I knitted just for fun a gauge swatch for the Guernsey Genser in this color. It's not a full gauge swatch, just some parts of the chart, and I have to say it looks just amazing. Especially the crisscross cable section pops really well, even though it's also a 2-ply, but it's just a thicker yarn, and it looks a lot rounder than the 2-ply version. And also, since it's a solid color, just the cable looks a lot more, it looks better, it's more visible. This is a really bright red. I don't know how it comes off on camera. If it's not like true to color, I will insert a picture in here. I am not sure if it's maybe too bright for my liking. Like back here, I think it looks a lot darker than it looks in daylight. And I don't have the yarn for that. I have just one skein, like, which I ordered to see the color in person and also try out their thicker yarn. And yeah, so I don't know. And the problem is, I really have a lot of yarn at the moment. Like when I came home from a holiday, I sorted through all of my yarn, and I have a lot of sweater quantities that have been lying around for over a year for some parts, and I really want to get through to them. And I really didn't want to order new yarn again. But this sweater screams Christmas sweater, and my nephew is getting his Guernsey Genser for Christmas. So I feel like if I want to knit a bright red Guernsey Genser, I should knit it for Christmas. But that would mean I would need to order a whole sweater quantity now and start knitting it now, which does seem kind of stupid if I have like sweater quantities lying around for years now, which I'm really looking forward to knit, but aren't that Christmas themed as this one. But it also seems odd starting this one in maybe January when I finished whatever I'm going to do with this one. So I'm really undecisive at the moment because I love this. I'm not 100% sure if it's too bright red for myself, but generally I love this. Other strong contenders, if you are in the market for a red worsted to iron weight sweater quantity, are Garn Fievel yarn. They have several really amazing bright red colors. I will put on the screen the colors I prefer. And also, I think it's a new yarn from Lana Grossa. It's something like natural blah blah blah. I think it's in collaboration with Vikings yarn, and they have a really great shade of red as well, and that would work as well with the Guernsey Genser. Additionally to that, the problem is I can't engage with this. This is a lot thicker, but I wouldn't also order this like thinner yarn from Finkhof because that isn't as round as this. So the cables wouldn't pop as much. But I think like this is unblocked yet. I would probably get more of a 16 stitch gauge with that, and the Guernsey Genser pattern, you can get it in different gauges, and I have the smaller gauge, like the 21 stitch gauge, and since it has a lot of like positive ease, I think even if I knit it in the smallest size, it would be probably still really oversized. I haven't done the math yet, and I am not willing to get the same pattern just in a different gauge from Sandnes Garn again. Additionally to that, getting the Sandnes Garn's patterns is a pain because I think one of the versions is in an 18 stitch gauge, so that will be closer to this yarn. So you see, there's a lot of like decision making. You will see in my next podcast episode what I went before, but I think we can all agree that this gauge swatch makes us all want to have a bright red Guernsey Genser or a bright red cable sweater. I can insert the Pinterest picture that I really liked. So, and you're probably asking yourself, what are you gonna do now with your Sheltold yarn, since you're not wanting to knit the Guernsey Genser with that? And I was debating about that as well. First I thought I am going to knit myself another cloud sweater. My cloud sweater is by far my favorite sweater. Probably if I had to rescue a sweater out of my like house in flames, it would be my halibut sweater, because it just closes to my heart. But if I could only wear one sweater for my whole life, it would be the cloud sweater. It's just the perfect fit, the perfect oversize, the color matches basically everything. The unspun yarn and mohair held together is just so versatile. It's perfect. I love it. And what I also wanted all the time was a longer version to wear it with leggings, because my current one is cropped, which makes it perfect with every bottom kind of, but not with leggings. And so I thought I could make that. I would actually make gauge with that. And then Ozetta came out with her moonset polo. And that pattern is gorgeous. It's also, her sample is really close in color to my yarn here. I would have enough meterage, and I think I could get gauge. I also think it's a really cool version of a v-neck, because I'm not a v-neck girly, but I am sharing my office with someone who's on the colder side and had the he's coming back on Monday, and he will turn up the heating the moment he will get into my office. So that makes it not possible for me to wear, for example, this sweater to my office. And I think a v-neck sweater will give it a bit more air flow, circulation, I guess. I also really like her styling with the white tee beneath. I have a lot of like white Uniqlo tees, so that work really well. And I'm a huge fan of a polo neck, like you can get me with that. And I also really like her like boxy oversized fit. Generally, I like Ozetta patterns a lot. I haven't knit that many yet because her gauge is just so big all the time. I rarely have any yarns that meet her gauge, so that's kind of a struggle why I don't end up knitting her patterns. But I have to say, like, one thing that I positively noted again when I looked up the moonset polo, she puts up the meterage and yardage and not only the grams of the yarn she uses. And it's just for someone who like 99% of the time uses a different yarn than the recommended yarn, it's just so nice that I don't have to do the math, and she just has the meterage in there, or also the yardage, but for me it's meterage, and I can just look at that and it's like I appreciate that. I think sometimes my favorite Things Knitwear does it as well, but for example Petite Knit doesn't do it at all, and it just annoys me. It also shows maybe how close she is working with the yarn brands, because obviously you are more prone to buy the yarn if you just have the yarn brand named and not, or the grams for the yarn brand and the recommended yarn and not the meterage. But yeah, it just, I don't know, it makes my life so much easier, and yeah, had me figured out that I have enough yarn for this. So I see myself, like, if I didn't have that red Guernsey Genser swatch, I probably would cast on this next. Maybe I will still do that, but I'm really undecisive, if you couldn't tell from the last 20 minutes of this autumnal planning video. Other things I'm also indecisive about. Coming up. But one thing I'm pretty sure I'm going to knit is this very autumnal shade of Ecopuno. I think the color is 81. It was on sale during summer in my local yarn store. I really like Ecopuno, and I already talked about it in summer. I'm planning on knitting another ivy shirt by Sandnes Garn in this. I love my summery version. And as I said, my office is going to be hot from next week on. So this is going to be a thing, I think, a good in-between thing that I can wear to the office. But it's like autumnal, it's woolly, but it's like I'm not going to sweat and die in it, basically. But I think, yeah, I've knit this pattern. I love it. I'm kind of sad I have to put my summery IVT into storage right now because I don't need a bamboo silk blend in autumn. But I think this is going to be a very nice version of that. Also, one of my other knitting plans. Oh, there's something stuck to it. Oh, I think it's the receipt. One of my followers, viewers, I think last autumn or spring, sent me a package with one of the Sandnes Garn magazines that she wasn't using and asked if I wanted to have it, and it's one of the kids pattern books, and I was like so flattered, and it was so nice, and she sent it me for free, and it was, yes, heartwarming. And she also put some yarn into that, like, wow, so nice. And one of the yarns is this very autumnal looking sock yarn by Arnell, super extra color. I've never heard of that brand, but it seems to be a German brand. And I mean, this is screaming autumn. And what I really wanted to do is knit my dad a new pair of socks. I've knitted him, I think, 3 years ago, a pair of socks, and he loves them. And I think he's due to have a new pair of socks. And the other one was more cooler tone, so I think this is going to be perfect for him. And this way I don't have to buy another pair of self-striping sock yarn. So yeah, this is going to be a pair for my dad for Christmas. I'm also planning on knitting several hats, and I'm probably going to knit the watch cap hat again by PurlSoho because I really like the one I made with the leftover Nora Madara I had from a gift knit, and I wear that all the time. I just need it in more colors, and I got these two yarns on my on my holiday basically in the Alps. And these are both alpaca yarns. This is from the Austrian brand Ferner Alpaca Wolle. Like, if you've seen my knitting vlog, you will know these yarns, but I know a lot of other people who don't watch all of my content watch these planning videos. So it's a very beautiful Harriet rose, dark rose color. This is the label. The colorway is 178, but I will have it all on the screen. And I have 2 balls of this, and this is also 100% alpaca, I said this. Oh yeah, and 50 grams, 100 meters. And this was probably the most expensive purchase during my holiday, and it's Juniper Moon Farm Harriet Great yarn. I'm still like, it sounds like the words are all in the wrong order, but I looked that yarn up, and I think they discontinued the color. I could find it, but you are not able to buy it on their website anymore. And it's also 100% baby alpaca made in Peru, but it's an American brand. And this is a bit thicker, so it is 100 grams, 120 meter, but it's very loosely plied. So if I knit it in double rib or 2x2 rib, I think it would condense a lot if I knit it on smaller needles. And it's the color 106, and it's this very multi-dimensional green foresty yarn, and it's leaning nearly petrol-y because it has like some purpley undertones, and I have a petrol colored rain jacket, and I think it would match perfectly because at the moment I don't have a hat that works with that raincoat or rain jacket, I guess. Okay, these are the kind of accessories. I'm also debating a bit if I want to knit up these yarns this coming season. Like I said, I don't think it's realistic that I will get around to them, but a girl can dream. I really wanted to knit with this also rustic local yarn of 50% Bernsteiner Jura Schaf and 50% alpaca, so it's a 50-50 sheep and alpaca mix, and also a Harriet brown. I was thinking of knitting the Obsidian Slipover, which I think is still lovely, but I never had enough meterage for it, so I was a bit hesitant. Then I saw on Natalie's Knitally, like her name is Natalie, but her YouTube channel is called Knitally. She made a brown vest with like multicolored buttons, and it was so cute. I loved it. She changed the buttons, which is obviously her choice, but I was like, I want that. I want that toddler vibe. And I was like, I kind of have the perfect yarn for it. I don't know if this is enough yarn to make a slipover with a button band, but also I could maybe just use leftovers of this for the button band. I think that could work. But then I kind of thought like I could also hold these together, which I don't know. I was like, since I finished my last Olga jacket, I was thinking of doing a bright red and brown striped something. And it's kind of meandering in my head still, but I was also considering maybe I could do the Copenhagen Sweater when it comes out from ducoeur, which is a 2-colored brioche sweater, I guess. It's not out there, but that's what I found out. And that could be an option, but I don't know if I have enough yarn for that. I also could do a classical colorwork sweater with it, so a lot of options. I think we will see where the season and the journey of this yarn will bring us, and probably won't see that yarn until after Christmas anyways. So that's that. Another thing, like I had an idea last night. I have this, I think it's Pommern Schafwolle. It was still like, it was the last order of my sponsored sheep that I got for my 30th birthday from my friends. This is not my, like the fleece of my individual sponsored sheep, but from the flock of the sheep where it's like belongs to. And I have only 3 skeins of this color. I have a lot more of like a natural white color and some of the brown, but 3 skeins is kind of limited. And I thought already last autumn if I would have enough for the skirt number 1. And I think it would be a bit tight, like yardage wise, meterage wise, but I could make it maybe work. I still haven't, I knitted a gauge swatch, but I didn't block it. So I need to see if it fills up and meet gauge with this, because this is how it's looking. Like that was like just the grayish brownish part in the beginning. That was the gauge swatch from, I don't know, last winter. And then this morning I thought like, how cute would it be if I had a bright red Guernsey Genser with a matching skirt number 1 with like, which is mainly this gray color and has like 1 thin red stripe, not one but like several thin red stripes. That could be so cute, but I don't know, it's just, it was an idea. Like I tried like the gaping of the space between the stripes, and I really like this. Then I tried out some texture, but I'm not digging this. So I will maybe block it. I think the skirt number 1 is generally like, I think it has a 17 stitch gauge. Is it 17 or is it much less? I don't know. I think she knits it on 5.5. I would probably need to knit it on 5mm needle. And I think it could be a very fast knit since it's a short skirt all in the round. But obviously this also reads very Christmas, so I don't know how all season appropriate it would be. I'm also debating to knit an all over intarsia colorwork sweater. I think it's called Maine Lighthouse and Maine sweater. Actually, Charlotte from the Girl Who Likes to Purl, I hope that's right, I think that's her Instagram handle, gave me the idea. I was eyeing these kind of sweaters for some time now, but she posted about it a few months ago, and I wrote her that like I would be up for knitting that as well. So we kind of like got talking about like what if we would do a mini knit along. Maybe other people would be also interested, because I mean it really matches the fisherman core aesthetic, and I guess there's like, isn't there a knit along running as well? I actually also got the yarn for it, but I won't show you that because it's like, I don't know, 10 different colors, and I'm not an octopus, like how should I hold that? I will probably do a swatch because I'm changing up some of the colors. I don't know if the original colors should represent like snow or very white sandy beaches. I've never been to Maine, but it's like very cool toned. And first of all, that's not personally my color palette, but it also really doesn't match like the coast where I live. We have a lot more like sandy, muted green colored beaches or coastlines, and I would like to represent that. I'm also thinking about like doing a red and white striped lighthouse, because that's what like more traditional lighthouses look here as well. Like we also have like black lighthouses or white ones, but the typical ones are red and white striped. I also did kind of my bachelor thesis around a lighthouse, so I would be very tempted to do the striping, the original striping of that one. But I need to see, because the lighthouse isn't that big on the chart, so I don't know how well you can place stripes in there. Because you knit that sweater, I think, on 5mm needles. I think it looks very intricate and a lot of work, but the gauge is quite big, and it's like Aran weight yarn. And I looked up all the colors that were used originally. I think not all of them are still, you can't still purchase all of them, but you still can figure out what original colors were used for Ravelry. And I think I have enough of like these natural colors in stash to use them, because for a lot of them you don't even need like more than 45 meters. Like it's ridiculously small amounts. Just I think the two colors you need more is like the mainland, like what they use the white for, and the sky, and a bit of the water. But yeah, I will keep you updated if Charlotte and I get around knitting this. This was a winter probably. And let me know if anyone is also interested knitting this very coastal themed intarsia sweater. I think it's also a really good way to hold a lot of yarns together, because the original yarns are very heavy, more so even tweedy, I guess. So I think like holding a lot of yarns together to achieve the Aran weight thickness would be a really good way to use up scraps, especially if you have a lot of scraps of natural colored yarns, which I definitely do. Yeah, I will probably swatch all the colors at some point and then talk more, and maybe I'm thinking of coloring the chart anyways to see if my newly invented color scheme will work out. Additionally to that, I fell in love with a scarf pattern, which I have yarn for, but it's so much work, so I don't know if I will ever get around to it. It's the, oh sorry, I think I have the tabs open because I can't remember it. It's the Pear scarf pattern by Studio Klara. I don't know if she's German. And there's also an apple scarf pattern, and it's I think says intarsia, but I think it's double knit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a yeah, it's a double knit intarsia and stranded colorwork scarf, which has basically a row of pears or apples, depending what scarf you prefer, that is slowly getting eaten. And I think it's so cool. Like, first of all, I love apples and pears. I eat an apple a day in my breakfast, so it's really my fruit of choice. And it's so fun. Personally, I feel more drawn to the colors of the apple, but I have the perfect colors, the perfect yarn for this scarf in the pear colors. And so you knit it on 3.5 millimeter. It's DK yarn, I guess, that you use. And I think just with the intricacy, it would take a long time, because you, with the kind of double knitting, I guess, you knit a cube. Maybe it's not double knitting. Maybe it's like proper intarsia. I don't know. That, at least that would also be a lot of work additional to the Lighthouse intarsia sweater. So I am not sure if I get around to it, but the yarns that I was imagining using for that is, where is it? Like, I talked about this in spring. It's the LePull Local by Erica Knight. And I have, first of all, this dark navy color, this like warm colored pale yellow green, and this pale rose rust color. And I think if you hold these two yarns together, they would basically make the perfect pear color. And holding this as the background color, since I have two skeins of this, and I actually have still a lot of my merino cashmere yarn left over from my poppy tea / sweater, so I could hold this navy together and have enough meterage. And I was originally thinking about doing what is it, round yoke colorwork fingering sweater. I think it's called the basil sweater. After debating it for a few months, there are two reasons why I won't do that. First of all, what was I thinking? Knitting a fingering colorwork sweater, like why would you do that? Like I'm knitting currently a stripy fingering sweater, and I think that is enough fingering sweater for me for a lifetime, to be honest. Additionally to that, this is also, I think, BFL Masham yarn. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And since I've heard now on several podcasters, etc., that BFL Masham peels a lot, and I am not willing to buy additional like yarn to like a second strand of mohair or something to hold with this, because all of this is already pretty expensive yarn. I don't know if it would be worth all the work you would put into a garment just for it to peel like crazy. So this made me thinking if I would rather make an accessory with it. And I was thinking of doing like in color work scarf, like really a long rectangular scarf for some time, and was eyeing the Fair Isle Marie Wallen scarves for some time. But I think the pear and apple one are just much more up my alley. Like I think it's fun, but it's also like kind of like natural looking, like because it has like these organic motifs, like natural organic fruits, I guess. It's also so funny because it's getting eaten. Like I would be up for putting it on the wall as a wall hanging because it just looks so cool. But yeah, I'm not that delulu that I don't think that's a lot of work and that I will have the time but I think I see most of my projects that I have yarn for more as like a basket of toys that you can choose to play with at any time, and you are not forced to play with a certain toy at any moment. Like I think the only thing I need to get done is the socks for my dad, and this is just a sock project, so I'm not forced to do anything. And if I choose and feel more like doing a Pear scarf pattern, I can do that, and I can just postpone some of my sweater patterns or something. So I think I will take a look at my list. But these are my thoughts, and I think we probably are way over an hour again, so I will have to cut this down by quite a lot. I won't do any like mittens this year because I did mittens last winter and I still haven't really worn them that much, and so there's no need for that. I have, like I mentioned, two to three accessories planned, and mostly sweaters, because I mean it's sweater season, like what else should you knit? And yeah, I'm really excited for them, but like yeah, there's still some indecisiveness, like some decisions that I need to make if I really need a red Christmas sweater, or if I just focus on the yarn that I at the moment have, or if that I already have in my stash at the moment. Yeah, I mean, they are like worse problems to have, to be honest. And yeah, I hope this gave you some inspiration, this was of interest. Like, let me know if you want to knit any of this like projects as well. Like, I love chatting, especially on Instagram, with people who are also knitting something. Let me know if some of you want to knit maybe the Lighthouse sweater. Like, if Charlotte and I really get around to knitting this winter, and we would maybe be up for some cal thing, but yeah, it's still in the beginning stages. Like, I think last month we haven't talked about it anymore, so I don't know what her live knitting situation is at the moment, but at least I have the yarn for it now, so I could start at any moment if I feel like it. Yeah, I hope this kept you company while you were knitting. Thank you for watching this, and I wish you all a very nice autumn and winter season, and I see you with a project update and some finished objects in the next podcast episode. Bye bye.